Bang!
Since watching Chainsaw Man's Reze arc on the big screen, I haven't been able to shake it from my mind. There's something haunting about Reze's story, a beauty in her tragedy that lingers long after the credits fade and the final page turns. She isn't just one of the best tragic characters in the series, I'd go so far as to say she's one of the best written tragic characters in manga and anime, period. And that's because Reze's arc is a masterclass in how to write tragedy. How to make an audience fall in love with a doomed character, even as the story breaks our hearts. So, how did a minor antagonist whose story begins and ends in just 13 chapters manage to capture the hearts of Chainsaw Man fans around the world whilst delivering one of the most heartbreaking stories in animanga? To answer that, we have to not just look at what happens to Reze, but how Fujimoto writes her, the subtle craft, contrasts, and emotional beats that make her tragedy unforgettable. First and foremost, despite Tatsuki Fujimoto's best efforts to convince me otherwise with Chainsaw Man Part 2, the man can write. Aki, Himeno, and Angel are all excellent examples, characters with depth, growth, and arcs that, though ending in tragedy more often than not, feel complete and essential. And among all of these characters, Reze stands at the top. Why? Because Fujimoto loves her just as much as we do. It's no secret that Fujimoto has a bit of an obsession with Reze. He stated in a 2020 interview that she's his favorite character, and even before Chainsaw Man was written, he once had the idea for a story called Ibuki, whose heroine was named Reze. He's also mentioned that there's a manga he's been working on in his head every night, titled Reze. Whether that Reze and Chainsaw Man's are the same isn't clear, but what is clear is Fujimoto's love for the character. And that love from an author is an essential force behind any compelling tragedy. After all, affection for your characters can be the difference between writing an excellent tragedy and committing one. Reze enters the story as the antithesis to how Denji's entire life has gone thus far. From the first interaction in that cramped phone booth, the story slows its heartbeat, trading action for a quiet, tender ballad where every moment between them feels both fleeting and forbidden. This tonal shift is deliberate writing, Fujimoto showing us that tragedy hits hardest when it's born from something tender, something real. Reze represents what normal life could have looked like for Denji: school, peace, love, and freedom. However, there's more to Reze than meets the eye. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that she isn't a complex juxtaposition of Denji, but rather his living mirror, a reflection shaped by nearly the same circumstances, only under the thumb of the Soviet Union. This makes their every interaction all the more tragic, as Fujimoto builds their connection on shared pain rather than simple contrast, a hallmark of great character writing. In chapter 42, Reze confronts Denji about the cruel reality of his life. A child turned weapon, denied even the most basic experiences of youth. She tells him that most kids are studying, making friends, and building their futures, while he's forced to serve as little more than a killing machine at his government's disposal. Yet, this moment is as much of a confession as it is a critique. Reze isn't just speaking to Denji's pain, she's projecting her own. Like him, she's been a tool since birth, her humanity traded for obedience. And it's this shared, inescapable fate that makes her story one of Chainsaw Man's most tragic. Despite this, Reze's performance of affection slowly becomes real, as both characters begin to change one another. It's at the school, a place where Denji and Reze play at a life they could never truly have, that they fall in love. This marks a key turning point for Denji, as for the first time, we see him express a more mature kind of love, not one born of lust or trauma, but something closer to a genuine connection. In the pool scene, this is reinforced further. It's the first and possibly only time in Chainsaw Man that nudity feels clean and pure, not simply a setup for one of Denji's usual moments. This tenderness gives Reze's tragedy weight, because when we believe in her love, her loss becomes real. The true tragedy of Reze's arc lies in the masterful analogy of the country mouse and the city mouse. Early in the arc, a conversation reveals that Reze prefers the safe, quiet life of the country mouse, while Denji is willing to embrace the danger of the city mouse in exchange for the creature comforts that city life brings. In hindsight, we can see this as Denji being content with his current existence as a government lapdog, while Reze desperately wants to escape hers. And it's for this reason that I interpret the first time Reze asks Denji to run away with her as genuine. She truly wants to break free, and she wants him to come with her. Only after he refuses, choosing to stay as the city mouse, does she attack him. Then comes the most beautiful and tragic part of the Reze arc. After their epic battle in the falling action of their love story, they reveal a willingness to sacrifice their own dreams for the other. Lying on the beach, Denji asks Reze to run away with him, flipping the question she had once posed and showing that for her, he's willing to leave behind the comfort of the city mouse life. And she rejects him, claiming that she'll run away, presumably finally achieving the country mouse life that she's always longed for. Calling after her, he tells her he'll be waiting at the cafe, a promise that unknowingly seals her fate. See, during their fight, Reze had remarked that since Denji knows Makima, running away with him would have been impossible anyways, further evidence that she truly meant it when she first asked. Yet, she returns back to the cafe, back to the city. She knows Makima's watching. She knows escape is nearly impossible. She said it herself. But she still takes that risk, the risk a city mouse takes for the chance at connection. And for that, she meets her end, delivering one of the most unique and powerful lines I've seen in fiction, while Denji remains oblivious that she came back for him. A silent act of love that lives and dies unseen. It's writing like this, subtle, restrained, but devastatingly human, that makes Reze's tragedy a masterclass in emotional storytelling. Now, manga spoilers ahead, Reze's story doesn't truly end here. By part 2, we've met every devil except for her that Makima once controlled, knowing that each of them eventually found freedom after her death. And we also know that Denji's love for Reze is unlike any he's felt for anyone else in the series. In chapter 183, as he reflects on all of those that he's loved and lost, the faces that linger in his memory are Power, Aki, Nayuda, and Reze. Notably, she's the only one of the four who stands as a clear romantic interest, reinforcing the idea that their love was the only authentic romance that Denji has ever known. Whether Reze will re-enter the story and what role she might play if she does remains unknown, but perhaps that's the beauty of her arc. Even in her absence, she's alive in Denji's heart, and for now, we can imagine her safe, free, and quietly content living her life as a country mouse, far from the chaos, and finally at peace. And that's what makes Reze not just a tragic character, but a near-perfect one, written with empathy, purpose, and the quiet kind of heartbreak that lingers long after her story ends.